저 시작하겠습니다. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from Indonesia and Korea, and online viewers and panelists. Thank you for joining today's Indonesia-Korea online fintech seminar. I'm Sung Gin-sun. On behalf of Fintech Center Korea and Fintech Indonesia and AFDI, we are very pleased to welcome all of you to first Indonesia-Korea online fintech seminar this COVID-19 era. Today's program is about 1.5 hours, and we will be starting from opening remarks by Chairman of Fintech Center and welcoming remarks from AFDI and welcoming remarks from AFTech and congratulatory remarks from the Republic of Indonesia to Republic of Korea, and the presentation by Indonesian companies and Korean companies and Q&A session. Now, we are very pleased to welcome Yoo Shin-jung from Chairman of Fintech Center Korea for delivering his opening remarks.
Good afternoon, I'm Yoo Shin-jung, Fintech Center Korea. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to HE Mr. Umar Hadi, Ambassador from the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia to Korea, for giving us congratulatory remarks. And Indonesian Fintech Association, also called AFTEC, and Indonesian Fintech Lender Association, also called API, which co-organized this webinar with the Fintech Center Korea. Thanks to Sunu Widiatmoko, Secretary General from API, Mercy Singorankar, Manager Director from APTEC, who will provide welcoming remarks. And there are speakers from the Indonesian side. I thank to Iwan Kuniawan, CEO of Modarko, Andy Taufan, Garuda Pulta, CEO of Amanta, Aidil Julkifli, CEO of Wang Teman, and Lufi Adhya Shah, sorry, Mufti, CEO of Amana. Also, there are speakers from the Korean side. I would also like to express warm regards to Dong-Wook Park, a senior manager of K-Growth, who will present K-Growth of Fintech investment, and Jung-Seok Kang, a CEO of Aizen Global, who will introduce Aizen's AI service. Finally, I would like to thank all the participants from Indonesia and Korea for enjoying this webinar. Now we are suffering from economic difficulty, and many people go through uncertain period until the prolonged COVID-19 crisis is finished. Although there is a considerable sense of the crisis in the many industries, however, Fintech, which is digital finance, so non-face-to-face industry, is growing faster than any other industries, and is believed to be leading the fourth industrial revolution in the financial industry. In order to respond to this change, mutual cooperation, especially using digital technology between countries, is very necessary. In Korea, the financial authorities are helping many Korean fintech companies and financial institutions looking for their advance in the Asian market. Especially the Financial Service Commission Korea opened the Fintech Demo Day in Jakarta with the Sinan Future Lab established in Jakarta last year, and invited Indonesian many fintech companies and showed both countries' commitment to introduce diversified services and plans for the sake of shared growth of the fintech industry. The Fintech Center Korea is also having various programs to help fintech startups to go abroad and to cooperate with the foreign fintechs. First of all, we support the fintech companies by matching them with the professional consulting institution through the overseas expansion support program. For example, this year, today is here, Aizen Global and Pin2P are receiving legal consultation and to expand their business in Indonesia. In addition, we are looking for starting a research project about new Southern Asia fintech expansion to provide information of the Asian market that Korean fintech companies want to go. Also, Fintech Center Korea opens Fintech webinar series to provide opportunities to introduce Indonesia and Korea fintech ecosystem to enhance each of global competitiveness between not only Indonesia and Korea, but also with the other Asian markets. This year in Korea, the Data 3 Act were passed by the Korean National Assembly. Therefore, the data economy era has begun in Korea. As a new era starts, the market consensus agrees that the financial industry is undergoing its transformation and sees the Korea Data Exchange and My Data business as is an example of the new era, especially not just the financial institution and fintechs, but also we call that big techs with the IT platform entering My Data business in Korea. Therefore, we expect many technology convergence in the financial industry with the data of AI, blockchain, and security, etc. Finally, Fintech Center Korea, working under the Financial Services Commission, Korea, does various efforts to support digital transformation and to boost the fintech ecosystem in the financial market. In addition, Fintech Center Korea has organized the Korea Fintech Week 2020 this year and opened the expo from the last Thursday of May. We have successfully achieved over 170,000 online visitors and over 1.1 million page views in a month. Once again, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia, Aptech, API, and other fintech companies from both Indonesia and Korea for joining this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman, for delivering your opening remarks for fintech's development and cooperation with Indonesia and Korea. Now, please welcome Ms. Mercy, CEO of AFDIga, to deliver her opening welcoming remarks. First.
Hi, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time zone you are joining. It's a pleasure for the Fintech Association, AFDIga, to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much, Fintech Center Korea, for inviting us to participate. Indeed, this is a very good opportunity and a good timing, as you mentioned, Yu Shin-jung, to cooperate together. The pandemic has also increased and affected our economy here in Indonesia. Fintech also as a part of the ecosystem affected, but also at the same time have contributed to the economic recovery of Indonesia. Right now, what happened is as the pandemic limits our ability to connect face-to-face and also everything move towards a low-touch type of economic context. Fintech have a greater role aligned with the digital economy ecosystem to contribute to how people transact, to how people live, and how people do their business. We've done a survey, the Indonesia Fintech Association done a survey to its member back in March to June 2020 to first of all see the impact of the pandemic to the business operational of our Fintech members. But what we learned from the survey surprised us. First of all, of course, our Fintech members by business model, how they operate affected by the great social distancing program imposed by the government. And also financially, some of them also affected and therefore changed their business operational. However, that doesn't stop these fintech companies to implement various initiatives to help MSMEs, small businesses, to help individuals, to help government, to reduce the negative impact of COVID-19 to their daily life. We learned around 55 initiatives that our member imposed to help MSMEs find financing options, to help ease transactions, to help merchants connected to their customers. So we call this joint fintech initiatives, and we brought it up to the government attentions. And we say that throughout the time, fintech actually has supported the government economic recovery program in terms of implementation. So we can see from the increasing number of e-money in Indonesia. In April, we learned that the number of e-money instruments in Indonesia reached record high, over 412 million. We also learned that peer-to-peer lending, the amount of dispersed loan, continues to increase and continue to provide alternative financing for consumer. What we also happy to learn is fintech has helped government and involved in the government social support program. We started with Kartu Prakerja, sort of like a program for unemployed provided by the government, and then followed by other programs that supported MSMEs. We also learned that fintech in the capital market helped to deepen and strengthen the capital market productivity in Indonesia through retail investment. In such a way, we've seen this as a good progress. We understand that our colleagues in the fintech player, they also struggle with the operational, but at the same time, they also provided and faced by opportunity. And it really is right now the make it or break it time for Indonesia to utilize this opportunity that comes from digital economy, that comes from the adoption of digital and innovation, including in financial services through fintech. Recently, I learned that through the adoption of fintech, when used to help disburse government social support program for the unemployed, it also created 728,000 new users of e-money. These 728,000 new users of e-money, previously they don't have bank account before. So it's sort of like an impact to financial inclusion. I think we need to move forward from financial inclusion to also economic inclusion, because that's what really matters by the end of the day. So there's a great deal of opportunity that we've seen in the market, and we need to talk with the government. We need to get our act together and come in a very strategic way to best utilize this opportunity, all with the objective to foster the economic, to accelerate the national economic recovery in Indonesia. And that's actually our theme. Indonesia Fintech Association, along with colleagues in the fintech industry and also the central bank and the Financial Services Authority, or OJK in Indonesia, we will be hosting what we call Indonesia Fintech Summit and also Indonesia Fintech Week, or Pekan Fintech Nasional, from 11 to 25 of November. Everything will be done virtually, but the theme of our event will be to thrive, to survive, and to thrive, talking about accelerating national economic recovery through digitizing financial services in Indonesia. So you will learn more about the potential of Indonesian fintech, the characteristic of our industry later from the presentation of one of our board member, Mr. Iwan Kurniawan. But I just would like to say to everyone, lastly, that it is really the time to collaborate, to cooperate, and also to work together to foster economic recovery, to create greater financial inclusion, and by the end of the day, greater economic inclusion. So thank you very much for inviting us, and we look forward to collaborate and also to work together with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mercy, for delivering your welcoming remarks and your key insightful comments about cooperation with Korea and Indonesia in the future and your business models in the future. Now, please welcome Mr. Ambassador Honorable Umar Hadi, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to Republic of Korea, he sent his pre-recorded message. Although he cannot join us on time, he sent his congratulatory remarks to us earlier.
안녕하십니까. 저는 Umar Hadi, Indonesia Teza Inmida. Selamat siang, saya Umar Hadi, Duta Besar Indonesia untuk Korea Selatan. I am very happy to give these congratulatory remarks, and I apologize for not being able to be with you real time because of other engagements. But I'm very happy and honored to be here, and I applaud this initiative to organize this web seminar between the associations of Fintech in Indonesia and Korea. I think this is a very timely initiative because, as we know, this global pandemic of COVID-19 provides great opportunity and momentum for the fintech world to move forward and to engage more people. Of course, when I think about this initiative, at first it would be too easy to think about Korea as a powerhouse of digital technology on the one hand, and Indonesia that has huge market potentially for digital economy. But again, as I said, that would be too easy, especially for you, the geniuses in the room who have been promoting fintech in Indonesia and in Korea. I think the real challenge, the greater challenge that you will need is how to ensure that fintech empower human. How we can ensure that this technology will empower the people, especially during this time of difficulties, during the time of crisis. Each and every individual needs not only to survive, but we need to move forward. We need to be propelled to a better life, to a better ways of living. That's why fintech has the potentials to do just that, to empower humanity. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us think bigger. Let us move even faster, and let us ensure that fintech empowers humanity. Thank you very much. Kamsahamnida. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Ambassador Mr. Umar Hadi, to the Republic of Indonesia, to the Republic of Korea. Thank you for delivering your congratulatory remarks and future cooperation and engagement with Korea and Indonesia. Now, let us start with a presentation from Indonesia, Indonesian Fintech Ecosystem by Mr. Iwan Koni Awan. We will share the screen for you.
Thank you. Very good afternoon. So first of all, good afternoon and thank you for the support, Mr. Yushin Jang, Chairman Fintech Center of Korea, and to Mr. HE, Mr. Umar Hadi, the Honorable Ambassador of Indonesia to the Korean Republic of Korea. And good afternoon, Korean as well as Indonesian participants today. Very welcome to our session. For quick introduction, I'm a board member of the Fintech Association of Indonesia, as well as co-founder, Chief Operating Officer of Modalku, a digital financing platform for small and medium enterprises in Indonesia. So I'll start by sharing a few quick words about our ecosystem, and then I'll hand it over to our wonderful gentlemen in the room as well as ladies to cover more about their own business. Right, so let's move on to the next slide. I think this could be the wrong slide. Could you move to the next slide again? Let me see what you have on this slide. Okay, let me use my slide then. Can I share my screen instead?
Yes, you may share your screen. Yes.
All right, thank you. Let me check if it's this one. Ivan, could you move to the next slide, please? Wonderful. Great, so let's get started with my session, right? So let's move to the next slide. I'll first cover about the Fintech Association of Indonesia. Next slide, please. Thank you. The one after. All right, so quick introduction. The Fintech Association of the Indonesian Fintech Association of Indonesia, called AFDIga, is officially appointed by the regulator OJK, the Finance Authority of Indonesia, right, to be the umbrella organization for all types of fintech activities or all verticals in Indonesia. We also work very closely with our sister organization, the AFDI or AFP, which represents the lending fintech businesses in Indonesia. Our main vision is financial inclusion for all people of Indonesia. And our main target is that by the year of 2023, which is about 3 years from now, 90% of the population of Indonesia is actively using fintech services. Next, I'll cover the growth of fintech. So let's move on to the next couple of slides, please. Thank you. Next. This slide talks about the growth of fintech in the last 4 years. We've seen that from just 24 fintech members that we have in 2016, that number is now 362. So many times increase in just 4 years, right? And the 362, the number of companies that we have as our members represent 80% of all licensed fintech companies in Indonesia. If we move to the next slide, I'll cover also about business models. Next slide, please. Starting from just 2 or 3 models in 2016, right, with digital payments and digital lending as the main fintech model, now we have 23 types of fintech business models, including digital capital raising, insurance technology, wealth management technology, as well as market enablers or market provisioning, which includes things like regulatory technology, eKYC, credit scoring, things like that. So in short, from a small subset of just 3, we've now become 23 models in a very complex, increasingly complex and sophisticated ecosystem in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Our members not only just include our startups, We also include the financial institutions, the big banks, the big insurance companies. They're also our partners and our members, as well as technology partners like Google, like Amazon, like Telecom Indonesia, and so forth, are also part of our membership as well. Next slide. Here's a quick glance of all the members of our association. A number of our members will be talking today as well in their presentation. But in short, the variety, right, that we have here, the lending, the P2P lending, the aggregator, equity crowdfunding, and so forth, is quite massive. And many of these names as well that we have today has been supported by Korean investors or Korean partners as well. Next slide, please. As Mercy mentioned earlier, the adoption of fintech solution has been pretty rapid. Some highlights that we can look at this slide: the amount of loans disbursed from the start to today is already $7 to $8 billion US since the beginning of fintech in 2016. The number of instruments, the number of users, number of apps that are using electronic money is over 300 million. And the number of agents, people who are supporting financial inclusion in villages, in small cities, is over 5 million people. So the adoption of fintech has been extremely rapid in the last few years. Next, I'll cover some insights from an annual member survey very quickly. Next, please. Let's move to the content after the next slide. Thank you. Next. So we've seen the growth. So the question is, what has been driving the growth in Indonesia? Some quick points. You see that some of the main drivers include increasing amount of investments from venture capital as well as other kinds of investment in fintech, a large number of working age population, age between 20 to 50 and so forth, rapid penetration of the mobile internet and social media has been rapid the last 10 years, as well as large underserved and unbanked population. And most importantly, or equally importantly, very progressive and conducive regulation. On the right-hand side, you will see the maturity level of the different types of fintech business, with digital payments and online lending being the most mature. And then you see also the other types of models in the growth stage and approaching maturity in the next 2-3 years. Next slide, please. The main users that we see on the left-hand side by age, not by income, mind you. So over 60% of the users are actually below 35 years old. And if you look at working age population, almost 90% are age 50 and below. So very, very, I'll say younger age group as compared to typical banking services. And if you look at the right-hand side, right, that's the income in rupiah, right? 15 million rupiah and below means $1,000 and below, right? The majority of the users are people with monthly income below $1,000, which means that we are, as a fintech community, serving a lot of the lower income, middle income populations. What we can do better on, and I think the next few years we'll see the bigger trend, is serving regions outside of our main island, Java. If you look at the slide in the middle there, you see that 12% of users are currently outside of Java, and I'm certain that that number will continue to increase going forward. Next slide, please. Here is just talking about the number of years of operations. Most companies are less than 5 years old, so pretty young and very investable. What's interesting is that before COVID-19, most business models are quite stable. During COVID-19, 40% of fintech players have started to explore other business models that are more exciting and more relevant during this time. So that will be an interesting result as well that we see going forward. Next. Investment. The main highlight of this slide is that majority of companies in our survey tell us that majority are raising capital for expansion, right? So we're very welcome also to take money from overseas, including from Korean investors. And not only that, but majority of companies are Series A and above, which means that majority of them have proven that they're product fits the need of the market. Finally, I'll cover the opportunities and challenges. In the next slide, please. So what's next for FinTech in Indonesia? Let's move to the next slide. What are the opportunities and what are the challenges going forward? We've seen that these 5 areas, so we've seen different business models having declining number of users. But at the same time, these 5 areas, right, have been thriving during COVID-19. We've seen digital payments, e-wallet or e-money transactions increasing, right, going forward. And that will continue to grow only as people are getting used to transacting at home instead of going out to the stores and buying goods. Digital remittance as well, cross-border payments are also increasing. The numbers of our survey is showing that this is increasing. Digital lending, however, is a bit of a mixed bag. The risk, obviously, of lending is higher. At the same time, the demand for online loans have also increased. And if you see the other areas, InsurTech and digital investments have also seen improvements, and therefore these are all opportunities for the FinTech ecosystem. Next. This is my last slide before I hand over to the others to present. In short, I think finally there's some issues that the association is actively working on. We are providing inputs constantly to the government, to the regulators, to implement government assistance, providing inputs also on policies around data privacy, data security, cybersecurity, as well as how do you balance between innovation as well as prudential economy, right? And also new topics like open API, open banking API, and financial literacy also remain very important areas. So these are all the areas that we're currently working on and continue to work on as we make a thriving FinTech ecosystem in Indonesia. Once again, thanks for the time and appreciate this wonderful session that we have here today with the Korean FinTech Center.
Thank you, Ivan Koniawan, for delivering your presentation on Indonesian FinTech ecosystem. It was very insightful. Now, let us invite Mr. Andy Taufran from Amatra. He's a CEO of Amatra. His presentation is Indonesia FinTech and Ecosystem. Andy, you may deliver your presentation.
Thank you.
Can you share your screen?
Yes, I'll share my screens in a minute.
Okay. There.
Okay, I assume you guys already see the screen. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here, Association Fintech Pendanaan Bersama Indonesia. So just like our brothers, AFDIG, our associations, specifically the umbrella for peer-to-peer lending company. So today, I'll try to present the update on the FinTech lending ecosystem in Indonesia. Specifically on the lending ecosystem. My name is Andi Taufan Garuda Putra. I am board member of AFDI and also founder and CEO of Amarta. Just a bit background of Amarta. Amarta is a peer-to-peer lending connecting the unbanked, the underserved in Indonesia to get access to working capital via lending marketplace and building, connecting them with social impact investors in the platforms. We are serving more than 500,000 borrowers across Indonesia. So let me start these presentations with introductions of the AFDI. AFDI is associations for peer-to-peer lending company appointed by the Indonesia Financial Services Authority in 2019. Now we have member over 155 and across multiple lending spectrum, and we divide it into 3: productive, multi-purpose, consumptive, and also Sharia. So the vision of these associations. In this association, we are encouraging access to funding for financial inclusions through digital services. In in Indonesia, the total market of $100 billion loans, the loan demands, and continue to increase. It's the opportunity that we try to address with also increasing access to over 75% financial inclusions by 2020. So through these associations, we are playing role to policy advocations, helping the regulators, fine-tuning, updating the policy, the regulations that fits with the innovations of the industries. Building code of conducts, make sure the gameplay within each of the players, and also how we treat our customers in the industry. Literacy and educations, definitely this is one of the main roles of these associations, which also the drive from the regulators to really promote literacy and educations of financial literacy and educations. We're also building our knowledge and data intelligence fintech data center with our collaborations with the regulators, and also collaborations with multi stakeholders in the ecosystem. Yeah, so let me just give you a brief explanations on the business model. So every of us familiar with banks. So in Indonesia, we have to simplify the financial services industry in Indonesia. I'll try to make it like 4 industry in Indonesia. First, banking infrastructure, banking ecosystem. Second is on balance sheet multi-finance company and industry. So only focus on financing for on balance sheet lending. And the third one, I may say, there's still room for cooperative in Indonesia to grow as a financial services institutions, non-banking financial institutions. And the last one is the newest industry established and also regulated by OJK by around 2016. It's peer-to-peer lending. So the business model of peer-to-peer lending, we play a role as a platform. So off-balance sheet lending, we didn't take the portfolio risk. If there is any default from the borrowers, all the default risk, portfolio risk owned directly by the lenders. Either it is individual lenders or institution lenders. So by promoting this fintech peer-to-peer lending business, we are driving. We are the driving force for bridging access to the underserved, bridging access to the informal economies, to those underbanked communities, and also bringing new asset class for the individual lenders or institutional lenders. For individual lenders, if they are looking for investing directly to real sectors, to the micro businesses, to the SME businesses, they can come to this peer-to-peer lending platform, crowd lending platform, and choose the borrowers by themselves based on their risk appetite. And the platforms acts as a facilitators between lenders and borrowers. So according to the fintech lending ecosystem built by the regulators, so this fintech lending ecosystems play roles to promote credit scoring e-credit scoring informations, e-KYC through digital signatures, promoting cashless transactions, e-payments, hedging, big data and AI, and also capital market and all, including InsurTech as a part of the ecosystem of the fintech lending, connecting them with the e-commerce, e-logistic, and aggregator. So the outlook of this fintech lending in Indonesia. So in numbers, we have over 600,000, close to 700,000 lenders in the platforms, actively lend their money in the over 500 member peer-to-peer lending company, over 27 million borrowers as of August, with loan aggregates is over 121 trillion rupiah. 121 trillion rupiah, more than yeah, I think more than 100 billion US dollar, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And the opportunity for this segment is still very huge. We're talking about 180 million individuals who are in the informal economies or not directly get access to the banking services. That's why they're looking for this opportunity from non-banking financial institutions. SME, 4.6 million unbanked SME who has not access to credit. Unbanked, over 100 million unbanked people, especially in the remote and economically backward region in Indonesia. And the total needs of credit distributions of 1.6 trillion rupiah, or over 100 billion US dollar loan demand per year. Yeah, so this gives you a bit trajectory growth of the lending, peer-to-peer lending ecosystem in Indonesia. The growth in the last 4 years, platforms grow quite significant from 34 players to 160 players. Now, loan volume from 2.5 trillion rupiah grow more than 50 times, 30 times in the last 3 years. And also the roles of this peer-to-peer lending to promoting, closing the gap of this financial inclusions in Indonesia. So this is the growth of the lending, fintech lending, peer-to-peer lending in terms of, let's take a look one by one. In terms of loan distributions, total accumulations in the last 3 years, it's over 10 billion US dollar, and account in terms of borrower accounts from 3 million account in 2018, now it already grew over 20 million as of August this year. In terms of lenders account, also grew quite significant, more than 4 times from 2018 to 2020. In terms of loan outstanding, as all of us aware, we are in this pandemic period. Especially in the last 7-8 months, it's really a tough times for this industry, and majority of the players focusing on the loan restructuring, consolidations of this current portfolio instead of pushing for growth. So the loan outstanding, it's around 1 billion US dollar, and slightly decreased compared to December 2019, including total amount of loan disbursement year on year. This year's as of August, probably smaller at the end of the year, or maybe at the end of the year. I think the industry starting to rebound, especially in this fourth quarter, and probably we'll see the growth more or less the same as of last year. And this is the success level on-time repayments, 90 days on-time repayments. So you can see the NPL. So the NPL slightly decreased compared to last year's because we are in this pandemic period, and NPL is, so if the on-time repayments as of 90 days 90%, so the NPL default rate it's around 9% in the peer-to-peer lending industry. And the compositions of the borrowers, so majority still in Java Island, and small portions and continue to increase outside Java. And as I already shared earlier, total numbers of the players in this peer-to-peer lending company is around 155, and the regulators divided into four. Actually divided into two: registered and licensed. And then those who already registered and licensed, some already conventional and some also Sharia, because the majority populations of Muslim in Indonesia, peer-to-peer lending Sharia also have a monumental role driving digital inclusions for Sharia products. So let me just go through this slide very quickly. In terms of lenders, user characteristic of the lenders, majority 19 to 34 years old, millennials in the professional, mostly lenders in these platforms. They are already well established, have a passive income, and already have investment in conventional way, like they already have mutual fund, and they already have government obligations, and try to look for an alternative of investment, and they invest in peer-to-peer lending. And in terms of the borrower sides, we have over 27 million account or borrowers, and the proportions between male and female is 50-50, and majority also those borrowers in the productive age, 19 to 34 years old. This is the members of AFDI, Association of Fintech Lending Indonesia, 155, and if you guys are looking for partners in this Indonesian peer-to-peer lending company, AFDI more than happy to facilitate discussions and meeting with specific players that fit with your partnership criteria. So let us give you some backgrounds of these players. We have SME loans, micro loans, multi-purpose loans, and daily loans. For the interest rate in this lending ecosystem, quite vary. For SME with ticket size up to 2 billion rupiah, or around $130,000 US. Range interest rate from 5 to 30% per year. For micro loan, 15 to 60% per year effective, and multi-purpose also 15 to 60% per year. Installments quite vary, depends on the products, 1 to 12 months. And yeah, and let me just give you the some examples of the players. So we have platform for peer-to-peer micro lending. Here Amarta and Toko Modal, serving micro segments, individual micro segments. They create a group of borrowers, mostly in the underserved or informal economies, merchant financing, grocery shops, and mostly located in the villages and or suburban area. We also have cash loan or payday loan player here, Mau Cash, Kredit Pintar, Uang Teman, KT Akilat. They provide loan up to 3 million rupiah with 1 month or 30 days tenor. 3 million rupiah or around 200 US dollar. Mostly for individuals as supply chain. And we also have productive financing. This one is for mostly for e-commerce players, invoice financing, e-commerce merchant, open loop ecosystem. Loan size quite vary from 5,000 US dollar up to 100,000 US dollars. And also we have a group specifically for Sharia-based financing for those customer base and specifically interested with Islamic financial lending. So in terms of the compositions between productive, consumptive, and Sharia, we have 60 players in productive, 84 players in consumptive, and 11 players in Sharia. Micro loan, invoice financing, SME, agriculture, and Sharia, also education and fund. So the role of these associations promoting financial inclusions, promoting healthy and sustained financial inclusion in the industry. We partner with multiple stakeholders to promote literacy education, research, and collaborations with academicians and also in other institutions to give insights on macro and microeconomic perspective. We also, as requested by the regulators, enhance capabilities of the players and the ecosystems. So we provide certifications for various of training, accounting for off-balance sheet lending, collections with standard and code of conduct of the industry. We also build in collaborations with the regulators, the data centers of all of the players, customer database of the entire peer-to-peer lending platform to mitigate risks of NPL and fraud. And lastly, we definitely are very open for collaborations, promotions of fintech with e-commerce, digital ecosystem, banks, multi-finance, SMEs communities. I think that's all from Asosiasi Fintech Pendanaan Bersama Indonesia. Thank you very much for your attentions, and very happy to have further discussions on this ongoing partnership between Indonesia and Korea, especially in the fintech industries. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Andy Topron from Amateur, for delivering your Indonesia fintech lending ecosystem and future perspectives during this COVID-19. I wish we could give you more time to deliver your presentation next time, but we do have a time allocations for the next speakers. Now, please welcome Chairman of Fintech Center Korea, Yusin Jung, for delivering his fintech ecosystem in Korea. Just 1 minute.
요거? Hi everybody, Yushin-jung again. I'm going to talk about Korean fintech industry briefly. Korean fintech has started a little bit late than a global market, but because Korea has a strong point in IT, as you see, and Korean governmental active fintech policies, I think we are rapidly catching up with global leaders of fintech. There are 3 fintech areas, including banking and capital market insurance. In banking, you just see the left side of the screen. Simple payment and remittance is growing very rapidly in Korea. Even though simple payments are about just 3% of total amount of credit card payment, but it's more than tripled in last 3 years, particularly as E1 before E1 Juryuan toll, and e-money is this e-payment in Korea very much speed up this year after COVID-19. And as you see the right side of the screen, we have 3 neobanks in Korea. 3 neobanks have been approved in Korea for last 3 years. Among them, particularly Kakao Bank. You see, Kakao Bank shows distinct growth. It accumulated 4.35 million non-face-to-face accounts within just 100 days after start of service, and it turned to a surplus in 2 years. Actually, it's less than 2 years. So many banks in banking sector were astonished and pay big attention to Kakao Bank at this moment. We are telling it had a definitely so-called catfish effect. Another one is P2P lending. Now, Korean government is a little bit, not a little bit, much concerned about the P2P lending, because I want to ask of Andy later, because real estate related loans are a very significant portion in Korea. 86% of total P2P lending, and COVID-19 particularly negatively influences, as you say. But I think P2P lending is a very, very good business model, and I think it will grow very fast and play a very important role in customizing financial products and to advanced transparency for the financial transaction, and also I think it's play a big role for financial inclusion. I agree with Andy said. And you see, right side of the screen, the second sector is the capital market, right? So capital market has a robo-advisor and crowdfunding in Korea. Robo-advisors started in Korea about 4 years ago, and until now, frankly, not so much strong. But I think because from the beginning of this year, Korea has entered into data economic era, and so big data will give a high potential in robo-advisor more and more. We see the kind of proof. Recently, very rapid increase in robo-advisor accounts in Korea. Another one is crowdfunding. Even though its market size is not much big, but it is more and more getting public interest in Korea. I want to know, the P2P in Indonesia, it includes, whether it includes, the crowdfunding or not. In Korea, crowdfunding and, the P2P lending is, the different concept with each other. Crowdfunding is, under the law of capital market, in Korea. It's a little different. And right side of the screen, InsurTech. InsurTech started late in Korea, but recently venture capitalist is pretty much, like, the global venture capitalist. And Korea, venture capitalists is much interested in this area because it is very much related to big data, and particularly, I think, IoT, fundamentally. I expect we see a big change sooner or later in Korea. This graph shows fintech innovation stage. I think it is not only the fintech innovation stage, but also I think the financial market, financial industry innovation stage. Where Korea fintech innovation is, or where Korean financial market innovation is located, I think there are 4 stages for fintech innovation. The left upper side of the screen, the first stage is characteristic is unbundling. Unbundling. The consumer chooses customized services such as payment, remittance in their hand, in their mobile smartphone. The second stage, second step is about digital platform. At the moves from step 1 to step 2. I think a TOS service in Korea is a good example. At first, remittance is only provided by TOS. But as there was, the high satisfaction from customers, it changed. The service now includes not only payment, but also securities, insurance, and even neobank recently. It's a platform. Change it into platform. And third stage about using data stage, as companies can use big data, like ABCD technology, AI, blockchain, cloud computing, and data. Will be utilized in third stage. Therefore, we see focusing on fintech companies, but it is focusing on the technology. We call it in Korea TechPin. I think it is called in global market the fintech enabler. Those kind of companies will become more and more important. We see many tech pins emerged in Korea at this moment. Even the big tech. Big tech is a kind of the big tech pin or big fintech enablers. So they try to enter into a Korean financial market. As I told you, early this year, the Korean National Assembly passed the amendments to the 3 major data-related laws. So Korea is now in the third stage of fintech innovation. And the last stage, sorry, the left in the below side of the screen, financial services can be integrated with non-financial services. Fusion. We see big tech companies such as globally GAFA, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and the Apple in USA, and BAT by the level of Tencent in China. As financial settlement data has all information for understanding consumers' behavior in any product in any industry. So more and more, I think financial data is pretty important in terms of the linking with non-financial business model or non-financial sector or industry. Therefore, utilizing those kind of the financial data can make a business model, including both financial and non-financial sectors. And so, because we can use big financial data in the third stage in Korea, we expect Korea can go into fourth stage sooner or later. As I told you, Korea has been very active on fintech. The Korean National Assembly passed a legislation called the Financial Innovation Support Act on December 2018. Based on this act, regulatory sandbox policy and open banking came into force. So far, 6 commercial banks and 20 fintech companies have signed up for the first round of open banking. So people can see all different banks' transactions in one bank account. So second round will come up soon. In second round, more local bank, more fintech firms, and more financial institutions will join. Another one is sandbox regulatory. The company is granted with a temporary approval for the innovative service. Up to now, total 115 of financial service providers designated as innovative financial service for regulatory sandbox for last 1 and 4 months. And also to support the opening of the era of data economy, the Korean government opened the financial data exchange platform last May. It handled the confidential data such as financial, it's a confidential and the sensitive data, sensitive individual data, such as financial, distribution, telecommunication, and so on. We hope sooner or later it includes the medical information data as well. Lastly, let me talk about my data. It's very meaningful because it's a first new business model and first new fused business model in Korea's data economic era. I think it's very important. It studies in the very conservative financial industry. It gathers all personal data so the individual can search their integrated data and can design customized the financial product. At this moment, not only financial institution and fintech enterprise, but also non-financial companies like Naver, Kakao, KT, LG, SK are interested in jumping my data industry very much. In conclusion, Korea financial market is showing big change and big digital transformation. So we hope to have chance of cooperation with Indonesian financial companies and fintech in Korea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman, for your delivering your presentation on fintech in Korea and your insightful comments. Now, let us have a pitching session from Indonesia. First session is from Uang Teman, Mr. Idol, titled The Role of Fintech Lending in Serving Large Unbanked People in Indonesia. Due to the time limit, I would like you to present your presentation within 5 minutes, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Sung. It's a pleasure to be here today to basically present to you regarding serving the large underbanked societies in Indonesia. And my company is one of the companies that is actually serving that at this point of time. Let me share the screen to you. Here you go. So in the next 5 minutes, I'll basically go through on what Uang Teman is and basically how we serve the large unbanked people in Indonesia. So this is a bit of a profile about the company itself. We are based in Singapore, but we hold the operating license in Indonesia. We have about 180 staff and we serve about 14 cities in Indonesia. And our investors include basically people from VCs from Indonesia, from Japan, and also from Singapore and China. So we have quite an international slate of investors. And these are some of the awards that we have won so far based on our track record since 2015. So we started operations in 2015. So we have been in the market in Indonesia for more than 5 years. So here I put together some statistics, but I believe my friend, Mr. Andi Taufan, has already gone through this statistics that is given by AFDI. So I'll just skip this slide and move on to the next one. So as you know, in Indonesia, there's almost about 250 million people in Indonesia, and about 203 million of them actually earn below $300 on a monthly basis. And therefore, we see an opportunity here where effectively there's limited access to micro lending from financial institution, which only serves about 4% of the population in Indonesia at this point of time. And based on the latest statistics, 78% of Indonesians with income of between 2 million rupiah, which is about $150 to about $300 face difficulties getting access to credit in Indonesia. So according to the financial services regulators themselves, every year there's about $73 billion of loan of what they call the credit gap, meaning that there's a lot of demand but not met by the mainstream financial institutions. And out of this target market, so to speak, about 100 million people, they effectively they are already borrowing from non-financial institutions and they own a mobile phone, right? So there's a huge opportunity here in the sense that there are a lot of customers needing access to financial services and they have the mobile phone. Then this is some other statistics on the individuals in Indonesia. They have about 73% does not have access to credit, while only 27% has access to credit. Credit card penetration rate in Indonesia is only slightly less than 10%. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of opportunity or room for growth for P2P lenders or online lenders intending to fill the credit gap as described by OJK, which is the financial services regulators.
Sorry, can you activate the slideshow?
Yeah, can you say it?
Mr. Idol, can you move your slide?
Oh, okay.
We don't see your moving slide. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've moved my slide. Can you see my slide?
I see your first slide, but the presentation slide, you can control it.
Okay.
Yes, now we see it. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Right. So there you go. So sorry about that. So there, as I've said, there's about 73% of Indonesians who do not have access to credit at this point of time. And this is the kind of opportunity which we feel that P2P lenders in Indonesia, they are actively targeting to fill that credit gap, so to speak. There is a credit problem facing Indonesians because of the lack of a credit rating infrastructure or a centralized credit scoring kind of infrastructure, unlike in the US or established countries like in Korea. A lot of Indonesians, about 100 million of them, are underserved by banks, and they have to borrow from informal sources, right? So the problems that we're trying to solve here effectively is the lengthy application process, lack of credit rating, and it's a bit of lack of transparency in the market in terms of how much credit costs is being burdened on to the borrowers, right? And as you can imagine, in a place like Indonesia, traffic jams and all, there's a huge delay in terms of before the cash can actually hit the accounts, right? So there's a lot of difficulties facing Indonesians at this point of time in terms of obtaining credit. And that's the reason why Wang Teman in 2015, we started the company, because we face, I had a lot of customers telling me they were not able to obtain credit from the banks. And this is how we are solving it. So what we do effectively here is that we have a credit system that makes instant credit decisions. And there's a credit scoring provided to the customers. So effectively, what we do here is that we score the customers based on their profile. So we provide an alternative credit score where we are able to then assess whether they're credit worthy to obtain financial products from us, right? And our service provides a very transparent disclosure of terms and the fees and how much the credit will cost to the customers. And within 2 hours of the e-signature, the cash can effectively hit the accounts of our customers. So those are the kind of problems that we are at, the solutions that we're providing here by providing instant, transparent, and socially responsible loans. So this is solutions that we are providing at this point of time. We have 3 products. Ours is very micro lending, starting from about $100 US and going up to about $1,500 US, and everything is app-based. So people basically download the app, they apply on the application on the app, and then the credit decision will be with them instantly within a few seconds, right? And once they have done all the documentation, uploaded and taken a photo of all the necessary documentation, and once it's approved, effectively, the customers will get the loan in their account within minutes or within hours. So the last 5 years, we've been using the product effectively. So we have done a survey of our customers and what they use the money for. The biggest use case of our loans today is for micro business purposes, which is about 31%. And the others are about 20% for education, for medical and other expenses. So even though I'm in the micro lending space or consumptive space, the reality is that a lot of my customers do not use the loans for consumption purposes. They use the loan for their micro business purposes. Example, selling food on the street, having their own online shop. So those are the kind of segment market which may be too small for the banks, but a bit too small also for the other business P2P lenders in Indonesia, right? So, and this is some of the use cases of the loans where our customers were able to obtain the loans in order to hire more people, open more branches and stuff like that. So that's the overview of the company, and I'll be happy to look forward to any collaboration between Korean fintech companies and fintech companies in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Idol, for presenting the role of fintech lending in serving large unbanked people in Indonesia. Thank you for keeping your time. So next presenter is Mr. Luffy, titled Indonesia Islamic Fintech Opportunity. Mr. Luffy, are you ready? You may begin your presentation.
All right, thank you. I will share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So everybody can see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen, yes.
Thank you so much. Greeting everybody, the panelists and all the audience. Thank you for inviting us. Today I will represent the Islamic FinTech. So I will talk about 3 things basically in a short while because our time only 5 minutes. So I will tell you a little bit about what I'm doing with my FinTech because my FinTech is specialized in the Islamic and Sharia finance, and how to understand the opportunity about the Sharia and Halal market in Indonesia and the Islamic economy outlook in Indonesia. So this is my company. Last year, we being visited by Korea also, the KISA, Korean Internet Security Agency. So they visit to my office, and a few fintech player coming like BOMAP, the insurance fintech, and the rest of the friends coming. So basically our vision is to be a #1 trusted halal finance platform in Indonesia to deliver halal financial access to the real sector and the SME. So we have 3 things what we do in Amanah as a fintech, as a Sharia fintech. First, we do the peer-to-peer financing based on the Sharia base. Because we are Sharia based, we also doing the social crowdfunding. So our product also have a blended financing, is a social financing mixed from the social fund. And also we doing the halal awareness and literacy to the SME that receive our finance facilities to improve their product and standardize their product to be accepted as a halal license available. So our product in Amanah as an ecosystem of Sharia surely we support the ecosystem of halal tourism, partly in the Umrah and Hajj financing, because as you know, Indonesia is the largest contributor country for the Hajj tourists every year, and Umrah every month. So as a Sharia fintech, surely we have this product for helping people to go Umrah and Hajj. And also we supporting the e-commerce ecosystem, e-commerce financing. We have pay later financing, Sharia pay later, biller financing, and we also support the SME through the invoice financing and inventory financing. So basically in disbursing our services, we always create ecosystem or join with the existing ecosystem such as e-commerce or community, Sharia community. So this is our partners. For the last 4 years, we already engage and collaborate with many financial institutions, Islamic financial institutions, Islamic insurance, and also Islamic ecosystem. So beside what we do in e-commerce financing and commercial financing, we also collaborate with the cooperative, because Indonesia is famous with the cooperative, rural cooperative. We collaborate with them in the O2O business model, offline to online, because to serve the ultra micro, such as the people like that have in the screen. So why Amanah doing the Islamic fintech, and why you should concern about Islamic fintech? So to understand the opportunity and what we have in the Islamic and Sharia fintech, surely is you ever heard maybe in Korea about halal label or halal license, something like that. So basically to understand Islamic fintech or Sharia fintech, Sharia is a set of Islamic rules to achieve halal, and halal is about quality of life. And halal concept is not only for Muslim, it's for everybody. So halal product can be consumed for the non-Muslim. So this concept of halal is basically for everybody. Go through the cosmetic, go through the food, lifestyles, include the finance. And how the world see the halal economy, this is what the world see and what the world want to be. In Thailand, they already envision themselves to be a halal kitchen of the world. So like Charung Pokpan, CP, they already import the meat, the poultry meat. And they are the largest also like supplying the halal food. And Korea also envisioned to be the main destination for Muslim-friendly tourism. But I also learned that Korea concerned about the halal cosmetic, because Korea also export halal cosmetic through Indonesia, because many Indonesia sharing culture with the Korean, and then they want to be look beautiful as like a Korean, white skin and everything, and those cosmetic from Korea is need to be labeled halal. Japan and China, Brazil and Australia also same. They see halal economy as a potential market, as a big market. So if you can see, the majority of it is a non-Muslim country, but they're trying to support the halal industry because they see the opportunity over there. And you can see this data accessibly in Salam Gateway or Dinar, in the Salam Gateway or Dinar or Islamic Development Bank. Basically, this data about global Islamic economy is quite a lot. And if you're talking about the opportunity, the consumer opportunity is the spending is around 2.2 trillion US dollar, and is led by the halal food and followed by modest fashion, media recreation, Muslim-friendly travel. I believe Korea also already opened the Muslim-friendly travel, like Japan. Easy to find the masjid, easy to find the halal food, and one of the leading industry in Korea that go to Indonesia is halal cosmetic. And Islamic finance is also a part of a global Islamic economy with the potential of 2.5 trillion US dollar financial asset. So I will skip this data. So what is industry that involving halal? Many people think halal is only about food and beverage or organic or non-organic ingredients for the manufacturing or logistic service. But the emerging market about the halal is on cosmetic, personal care, healthcare products, which is Korea is really good on it. And tourism service, although we know during the pandemic, the tourism is really dropped. But once the vaccine is released, then the tourism will have a big demand again, because many people already fed up staying in the house. And modest fashion is one thing also like emerging in the Western country in Europe. And this is the sample case that I took from Korea, from my friend. This is the Korea product for vinegar. And because they want to enter the Middle East market, the vinegar itself is trying to get the halal certified by checking whether have alcohol or not. So if you think about the opportunity of halal market, is quite big, and it's not only about the food and beverage product, but until, like you can see on the right side, is the sprayer, purification sprayer is for cargo, so is for logistic industry. When you want to clean up the cargo, have a certain ruling in Islamic that you have to use the soil and sand. So this specifically type of purifying equipment can splash the soil and sand to clean up the cargo. And this one also a soap that mix with the soil or clay to clean up specifically provision in the like a job like a laboratorium, like a doctor that always involving with something that need to clean according to the Islamic rulings. So is there any potential Islamic fintech in Indonesia? Surely they have, because they already have urgency factor about halal economy or Islamic economy in Indonesia. One of it is the government supporting this ecosystem by creating the government body to support a specific activity. For example, like for the Umroh and Hajj activity, we have BPKH, Badan Pengelola Keuangan Haji, for maintaining the zakat, because in Islamic community, every year we have to pay like a social charity, like almost like a tax. For those rich people, they have to come out with 2.5% from their wealth, and you have to give it to the government or to the organizations that will disburse to the poor people. And for the halal license, the government already established also the body for the halal license. So basically, the majority of the Indonesian population is the Muslim. So the market of the Islamic fintech or the halal economy is open widely for everybody, because many people also relating the Islamic fintech, Islamic economy or halal economy into the ethical consumerism. So more ethical, more clean, more healthy. That's what they perceive on the Islamic finance or halal economy. So this is my last slide, showing the opportunity in Indonesia. Basically, if you see the pyramid, most of the financial institutions or financial system in other country, they only know until the layer of micro enterprise. But in Indonesia, we acknowledge the grassroots layer, ultra micro and the poor, because ultra micro and the poor have a special source of fund from the Islamic finance, from the charity, from wakaf. Wakaf is like endowment. If you remember Saimal Undong, the village is to open the road, the villagers is giving the road, giving the land to build the road for the public. That's like an endowment. So endowment potential in Indonesia is quite a lot, until 180 trillion rupiah. And if a land wakaf or land endowment is until 420 acres. So this is the potential in Indonesia. And not only that, Indonesia have a uniqueness. We have 246,000 masjid. Masjid is the prayer building for the Muslim. And also we have 28,000 pesantren. Pesantren is like a boarding school, Islamic boarding school, and we have 138,000 cooperative. So if you think that masjid and pesantren and cooperative as a data point for the fintech, this will be big. For example, like fintech that based on as a blockchain, or fintech that based on the lending agency or financing agency, they need to penetrate the rural area, or they need to interact with the SME or the ultra micro through the data point. So if you're talking about O2O business model, in Indonesia, we have masjid and pesantren and co-op as a potential empowerment data point. And also, if you're talking about the halal industry in Indonesia, it's not only finance, but be a part of a halal value chain itself. For example, we need to track down whether the halal product from Korea when arrive in Indonesia is already according to the regulation or not. And it's really good if being supported by the blockchain fintech, something like that. And if you're talking about fintech itself, why the opportunity is still wide in Indonesia, especially for Islamic fintech? Because currently Islamic fintech only have 12 platforms right now. So the market is still wide open, but the player is still less. So if you're talking about a collaboration in Islamic fintech, we will be glad to hear and to support you. And they have 3 key sectors that you can utilize halal as the new source of economic growth, which is in the category of halal products. It include food and beverage, fashion and cosmetic, Islamic finance. If in the capital market, we're talking about sukuk. And then if in the social finance, we're talking about wakaf and zakat. And of course, is a halal lifestyle about tourism and healthcare. If you can provide in Korea healthcare for the Muslim, like the Malaysian provide in Penang, the Penang Island, they specifically design the Penang Island as the healthcare center, also the Muslim friendly, then it can be a source of economic growth, because the Islamic market is always growing and is really exclusive. The Muslim should embrace the Islamic economy system. In the same time, people non-Muslim also can join and embrace the halal economy. But we cannot go beside the halal economy for the Muslim, but other people can go to the halal economy. That's why it's a universal for everybody, but exclusively the Muslim cannot go through other beside than the halal economy. So this is the potential industry for the Islamic fintech or any kind of a fintech that want to support the halal ecosystem, like an insurance fintech, blockchain fintech, like credit scoring fintech, or even like a social financing fintech if have in Korea, can be like a software that managing many zakat potential or many charity potential in Indonesia, because the Muslim majority in Indonesia, they have an instrument strongly in the social finance. So this is the potential that I can deliver you the information currently right now. So if any further discussions or further interest in the Islamic fintech potential in Indonesia, we are glad to have a communication with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luffy, for your insightful presentation on Indonesia Islamic fintech opportunity and halal finance fintech system and market opportunities in Indonesia. I wish I could give you more presentation time, but due to the time limit, let's move on to the next presentation by Mr. Peter from Tonggon, Indonesia, presenting the role of innovative credit scoring in driving financial inclusion.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity today, and fellow fintechs of Korea and the Indonesia members. Today, I'll be presenting on behalf of the AFDIC, as part of the credit scoring cluster which we are in. So Myself, I'm the country director of the Tongdu Indonesia, but today I'll be presenting on behalf of the association. So today we'll try to share with you a bit on how the role is for the credit scoring in driving the financial inclusion. Can everybody see my screen? I hope it's working well.
Yes, I can see your screen. Perfect. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll share with you a bit on the background. Yeah. Okay. The business model and the growth of the credit scoring. So first of all, in Indonesia, you'll see that in the middle picture, you can see Korea. You can see you are very mature. Yeah. Your financial inclusion is 95% plus. While Indonesia will half of that, only 48% in 2017. Now about 60 plus, I think. And the government has put 2023, 2024 as the target for 90% financial inclusion. So you can see that the unbanked population is still very big. Yeah. You can see also the breakdown, which 56% of the unbanked population actually borrowed money, but they're actually not bankable. So there's a huge gap there. And you can see that the financial literacy is also still far behind from the other countries, but we try to come to a stage, a percentage that is probably closer to like India. India has been able to grow very fast, right, in the last 7-8 years. So we have done a white paper, and with the help from in-depth local consultant, with help from World Bank, with help from the central bank, the OJK, and so forth. And we have come to that white paper, which this is the slide that we are summarizing the results of that white paper. So to give you a background of the innovative credit scoring, so this is where our cluster is. Out of the AFTEC, we are the second largest cluster. Yeah, we have 13 companies representing, and I represent one of them. Okay, so there are 13 companies doing this credit scoring, and we are all in the regulatory sandbox. And the innovative credit scoring business model, according to OJK, is represented by this diagram, which we do help the lenders to provide them alternative data, using alternative data to provide credit scoring for individuals whom or businesses whom are mostly in the unbanked or underbanked sector. So if you can see on the bottom right, you say SLIC, the credit history data under OJK, we are using data that is out beyond the credit history. So we use external data sources like the telco, e-commerce, social media, tax, utilities, those kind of data, to help to create this credit score for these individuals or MSME. So with this diagram, it represents how we create a score to help the country be able to tackle the financial inclusion to reach that 90% target of the country. Okay, so yeah. The framework models that we have come is it's a bit wordy, but I think the slides can be given later. But I think the purpose of us here is we really work through our data governance to be able to get the set of rules that the data, how we manage the data, how we use the data, and the results of the data is in a proper manner. We use the data like alternative data, like I said before, telco data, travel data, payment data, e-commerce data, tax data, everything. And we used our framework to process those data. Okay, we do have some rules that how we will use the data, and the coverage should be consistent. It should be specific, accurate, and has predictive power in predicting, especially the behavior. And it has to be in addition, so it's in addition to the traditional credit bureau data. And we are collecting data. We have data protection officers. We have clear data rules, and you can see in the data protection, data privacy segment here. And we would like to be very transparent in how we are using the data for the benefit of the public. Yeah. And we try to ensure that everything is being done professionally, secured, and for the benefit of the financial inclusion. And then the data, we use many sources of data, and for these we do have specific procedures that we have laid out in our white paper. Yeah, how we collect the data through local corporations, to institutions, through autonomous collection, which is consent-based consent-based data collection, and we do use multiple corporations to institutions like so BPJS is like the Social Security, and then utility, tax office, e-commerce, and ride-hailing, which all has a great source of information to create credit scoring. So with these, with the proper process, yeah, we embark this process to have this end in mind of financial inclusion through the credit scorings. So as mentioned before, right, if the people only like 60% are bank, only these 50-60% of people do have some credit history. So we do go beyond that, and that's the only way to reach that 90% I mentioned before. We do use our methodology. I will not go, this is a bit wordy, but we will use the standards analytics models, yeah, to create these scores. Are things that is probably beyond the old school, probably credit modeling, credit scoring, which probably is largely used by banks or multi-finances, the more conventional way. The one that here in the fintech world, we all have to use beyond that, and we have to use new boundaries of data, and be creative in using it, and test it to the market. So with those, we were able to get better credit scoring, more predictive power, to help all the lenders to manage their risk level. So I think with this analysis model, which we have put in the white paper, it will be a good guidance to all the players that we are here. We are about 13 companies here that we follow somehow these guidelines here. And partnership model that we are embarking. So each of the 13 companies may have different ways of doing business, but in a nutshell, the partnerships of getting data are either B2B, it may be later to go to B2C, and there's a potential collaboration with one-to-many ecosystems, which is very free of how these are going to be. So we will see each of these companies be creative in getting their collaborations with the ecosystems. And the collaboration of data usage, there are two things, right? For the banking data, the collaboration would be with the credit bureaus. Yeah, we have 3 credit bureaus in Indonesia. And the non-banking data, all of us need to work to get these data to collaborate with it, and then use it for the purpose of credit scoring. And the technology model that we're using, we have been using the left-hand side, the technology, as you can see, the logistic regression, AI, machine learning, and deep learning. And we see the potential that we go beyond to the right, the gray one, the supervised, unsupervised machine learning, etc. But there's also a catch to it, right? When in the fintech world, we all want to go, everything is like machine learning and AI, which are very, I would say, trendy, or I mean, there's very new things, right, that people would like to embark. But also the regulators need to also understand this, that what can be done and what cannot be done, the guidelines should be clear. Yeah, and especially normally auditors, they always want to see how models are being developed. So if they do audits, they want to be able to see how accountable those models are. But in machine learning, it's more like a black box, while the auditors would like to see a white box. That is probably the catch to it. Where when we go into more technology, more machine learning, we'll have to see a change of the behaviors of how we all work, as well as how we able to comply with the regulators later. And then the challenge and opportunities. There are a few strengths and risks involved to credit scoring business. We can see it's so much more efficient doing decision making using this fintech credit scoring or innovative credit scoring, and it's data driven. It's more efficient. It helps to serve the unbanked consumers, increase the portfolio, and also help to mitigate the potential fraud. And the potential risks on the innovative credit scoring are more about the concern of the fairness of the consumer credit score. Data privacy is always a question. And there's also this specific thing that we also see from regulators, that the complex algorithms that we are using they don't see so much transparency of how it is being done, like I mentioned before, right? So it goes hand in hand between the players and as well as the regulators to understand and be able to see how we are compliant to the process. And on the bottom, you can see that there are measures of the governance of data. That's very important. Yeah. And functions like the risk management and internal audit are all needs to be geared towards this new innovative credit scoring model. Last one. Okay, so in a nutshell, so we see that this is part of our white paper, right, that we have submitted to OJK, and so you can see that we are expecting also more and more ability for us to work with the available data coming from formal institutions, like from the social security, tax, water, utilities, electricity, as well as obtaining data using the process of it, using the IT risk management, and complying with the laws is very important. Necessary supervision from EAK in implementation of our business. We are expected to work with the credit bureaus to, if possible, enrich their data. So we have best of two worlds within the credit history data as well as the non-credit data to help for the financial inclusion. And I think the important one is that we also see that the education part to the general public to the benefits of the innovative or alternative credit scoring. So with all of those, we really hope that our role to financial inclusion is really understand and we can really help the industry. And the last point, number 8 here, is we do have already made a whitelist and a blacklist of the technologies that or the ways of data that we are using for the purpose of the safety of the general public, as well as to manage the risk for the financial institution. So I think we have the details of it in our white paper, and probably that's my summary of what we have done to help the industry. That's all from me. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Peter, for your insightful presentation on the role of innovative credit scoring in driving financial inclusion, challenges and outlook in Indonesia. So due to the time limit, let's move on to pitching from Korea. First pitching is from Korea's fintech investment from K-Growth. Please welcome Mr. Dong-Wook Park for his presentation.
Hi, thanks for the introduction. My name is Dong-Wook Park, and I'm in charge of managing Fintech Innovation Fund at growth. Let me share the screen first. I'll try my best to make it quick and simple. I'm going to briefly introduce our fund and propose a co-working opportunity between fintech players in Indonesia and Korea. Okay, let me start off with a snapshot on Korean financial industry. The sector has been growing since its market opening in the 90s. Now there exist 6 major banks ranked among the top 100 global banks. The intense competition and small market size are the pressures that are forcing Korean banks to expand to the global market beyond Korea. To see the number, the ASEAN market has placed on the top priority among those outbounded Korean financial players. The enormous size, of the market has attracted many numbers of Korean financial institutions. As you can see from the table on the left, over 50% of overseas subsidiaries are residing in Southeast Asia. Indonesia accounts 27, and we can confirm the high appetite for the Indonesian market. At the same time, both the number and size of Korean fintech startups has seen a 30% CAGR over the last 7 years. So that growing competition among the fintech startups has forced them to look outside the domestic market, and many of them are delving into Indonesian market. So in response to the demand for outbound expansion, we have launched a fund of funds platform dedicated to fintechs. So our 7 major banking groups has committed to our platform, the Fintech Innovation Fund, and we divided the platform into 2 main vehicles. So first, we as an investment manager direct the 2/3 of the capital to the VCs focusing on fintechs. So the GPs of those funds will make an investment decision on this side. The other 1/3 will be invested in the later stage companies, and we make investment decisions on this side. Because we are working very closely with our banking partners, the fintech labs that are under the control of those partners can provide a comprehensive support for the fintech startups. So this slide is to help you recap the structure of our platform. Again, of the 130 million USD fund of funds capital, the 2/3 will be invested in early startups under the controlship of VCs. And the other 1/3 will be invested in the later stage startups by our own investment team. We can invest up to 20% of our AUM to non-Korean VC funds or fintech startups, mostly to those residing in Southeast Asia. Here we illustrated the sample investment structures. We can bring forward values to Korean and Indonesian players in fintech scene. First, it is possible for us to invest in Indonesian fintech startups along with local VCs, the Indonesian VCs. We can help them to foster a strategic partnership with Korean banks that already have their Indonesian operation. Or we can introduce startups that are already included in our portfolio to Indonesian financial institutions or super app operators such as Gojek, Grab, or MomoPay with massive B2C client base. Most of these tech startups already have the use cases in Korean financial system. Therefore, they can easily enhance the various functions in banking cycles through the horizontal integration. So this is the summary of the benefits that we can offer for the VCs or startups being funded by us. VCs can benefit from not only the capital commitment, but also there will be a strategic opportunity to tap Korean LPs or Korean major GPs. As per the startups, the investment won't be limited to one-time funding. We do have a platform to invite other co-investors who are very much interested in Indonesian market. This investor pool won't be limited to our banking partners. It also includes Korean GPs who have an expertise in cross-border transactions. We believe this flexible set of follow-on investment will be very beneficial for the startups wishing to scale up. Turn briefly to the overview of my company, Korea Growth Investment Corporation. We are one of the biggest fund of funds investment firm in Korea, providing about 5% of total basic capital in Korea. Since our inception in 2016, we've launched over 21 fund of funds. Through the fund investment platform, we've funded over 200 VCs and private equity funds. So back to our fintech platform, we launched the Fintech Innovation Fund in December last year. Since then, we have made direct investment to 8 startups and funded 2 VC funds dedicated to fintechs. I summarized the keywords of each company in hashtag format. Let us know if you want to collaborate. It may sound like a humble brag, but Asian Global, the next speaker, is also our portfolio company trying to penetrate the Indonesian market. We are still in search for the fintech startups or VCs who can solve the real-world problems in fintech scene. Please reach us if you wish to share your IR or IM materials. We'll be more than happy to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dong Park, for your presentation on Korea's fintech investment and business opportunities with Indonesia. Due to time limit, let us move on to our last presenter from Mr. Kang Jong-seok from Asian Global, titled Redesigning Digital Banking with the AI.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. I'm sharing my screen, but it is blocked because of the other participant is sharing. Would you please oh yes, thank you. Okay. So thank you very much. It is very my honor to have an opportunity to have a presentation here in Korea and Indonesia, the Fintech Association. And then what we are providing to the market is Credit Connect. Is one of the banking as a service platform. So we are providing the credits to the data economy, like e-commerce, e-wallets, and shared economy. And then the right-hand side, the financial institutions who wants to access to retail investors in local market. Okay. So the problems that we have faced so far is that in the left-hand side, the data economy, like e-wallet and e-commerce players, especially countries like Indonesia, they have a low rate of credit penetrations. The customers need to buy, when they try to buy some kind of product, they need to pay in cash. And then even the online deliveries, CDO is very popular in this country. But if you look forward in the coming years, then this type of payments will be transformed into in the digital way. So we are also preparing for that kind of era will come in coming years. So, and then this kind of data economies try to provide adequate credit product for their customers, but they are facing some kind of problems. They don't have a banking license, and then they don't have expertise in banking industry, and also not just a single point of credit scoring. They are lack of end-to-end credit cycle management system that is required for the banking industry. And the other hand, the banking is also has some kind of limitations. They are traditionally targeting very high-end customers who has very proven income statements, but the data that is generating from this kind of a data economy is not properly digested to the bankers. Okay, and then because of that, they have a limited ability to design the credit product to their new data economy. So, and then also they want to have access to the retail customers. So this is the situation globally. So that's how we are providing to these two players. On the left-hand side, the data economy, and the right-hand side is the banking sector. So this platform provides the benefits for both of the players. The data economy, they can provide more choices and retain more customers and diversify revenue streams, and also have keep the strong market position over their competitors. And the right-hand side, they can expand their customer bases, and then without huge efforts, they can launch new products, and then they can eliminate heavy marketing and IT maintenance costs using. And we have played not only in most of the Southeast Asia market, and then we are recognized in many types of organizations. And then what we are providing is an automated banking operating system, that is required for the entire credit cycle. It's like a automated, advanced driver's assistance system in the autonomous driving car, on which the machine can detect some kind of environment and make a decision, and also and predict and control. So what we are doing is that the product planning, and then based on that product, we are originate the loans, and then during the originations, there's a lot of processes required, not just a single credit scoring, and AML and fraud detection system. And then once that the loans are originated, we need to monitor that portfolio, especially under the situation like COVID-19. Then all the situation, the data points are changing. So we need to actively manage this kind of portfolio. And then eventually some of the loans will go bad. So we also providing some kind of a collection, the very high-end collection management system. And then after some types of activities, and then we need to embed this information into the product planning. So we are providing this kind of all this credit cycle works in the one single platform. Okay, we have raised so far, including $12 million, including $4 million of government grants, and then K-Growth is our prior presenter, is our investor, and then our shareholders are directly and indirectly, all the banks are participated. So because of that, so we are expanding into the Southeast Asia markets with the Korean financial institutions using their balance sheets. So structure is like this. If we underwrite the loans, and then we are delivering the decisions, all this information to the banks, and the banks are delivering their balance sheets through us to the clients. So this is a very similar model for the anti-financials models in China, and then so this is what we are trying to do in and then doing in several Southeast Asia market, including Indonesia. And then one of the targets market that we are penetrating at this moment is that the online e-commerce market. And category-wise, we are targeting on the furniture and appliance markets. For example, when the customers are trying to buy some kind of like a sofas and chairs, that is $2,000. And then we are partnering with one of the like e-commerce players. And then what we are providing is the like a wholesale and inventory financing and the retail customers. So this is the what we are doing. And then the same model for entire the market. And then recently we are entering into the US market. And then we observed that similar demand is in the US market. So same model for globally. This model provides benefits for everybody, not just for us, the data economy and the banks. So I think that this can be, and then on top of that, our AI technologies are have a lot of technology stacks, like automated machine learning as well, and we are creating the models, thousands of models in real time. And then not only that, we have edge computing, so we can anonymize the data, encrypt the data in the ending site, and then delivering the result in the centralized site. So we can comply all the data compliance. And then also on top of that, we have a capability to digest the data as a historical data, a huge amount of data in a single one platform using our advanced data in-memory technology. So previously it takes a very long time to digest and deliver the models in practice, but we are doing in the milliseconds. So this kind of high technology I think that we can help, and some of the regulatory, designing the regulatory framework in Indonesia. I think that is the end of the presentation. Again, it is my honor to have an opportunity to present here in here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, CEO Mr. Kang Jong-seok, for your presentation on redesigning digital banking with AI. Although time has passed our designated time, but let us have a quick Q&A session, about 10 to 15 minutes at the maximum, to wrap up all this session. So let us start the presentation from any inquiry from Indonesia, or if we have inquiries from Korea to Indonesia on presentations. Okay.
Time is very tight, but can I ask a question? Okay, I'm not sure it's from Iwan, Mr. Iwan's the PPT or and his PPT, but anyway, it is related to P2P. Iwan, on your screen, I think I see you on screen. Good.
Yes.
P2P.
Hi.
Yes, P2P enterprise. There are some distinction between registered company and the company which has the license from the decade. So of course the licenses cannot formal, but what kind of the benefit do those kind of the license companies to have different from just the rest of our company?
Sure. Actually, I represent the Fintech Association, and the Lending Association is from Pak Kus and
Sorry.
I can briefly explain from my experience, given that I'm in the lending business, but for more accuracy, I think they can answer the best. I think the biggest benefit from the license is the certainty of the business operations. Obviously, when you are licensed, or if you're registered, you can always share information to customers, right? The thing is that the licensing, the actual license itself, gives you certainty that you have stability in the business, and usually when you're registered as opposed to licensed, you have a certain period of time for you to get licensed, right? Otherwise, there is a chance that your registration could be taken away from you, right? But perhaps I'll let the AFP folks to explain better. I think I see Lutfi as well showing up on the screen.
Can foreign enterprise like if you Korean fintech goes to the Indonesian market, international fintech financial market, can foreign companies like Korean fintech can get?
Maybe I will have to answer. Because maybe if have Pak Kus or Mr. Tovan maybe can help us to answer, because I'm also from AFP. So regarding the peer-to-peer license, why it's so important for having a license in here? Because when you having license, you can engage with many banks although in Indonesia peer-to-peer lending, since 2016 to now, they have two types of license, the permanent license or like a sandbox license. So the sandbox license is although it's a license, but you cannot really use it well, utilize well. Many banks are rejecting to collaborate with you if you are still in sandbox, because they are highly regulated financial institutions, right? But if you have a permanent license, it's much more easier for you to engage with the banks, which is in one point, as a peer-to-peer lending, you need another financial institutions as a source of fund for the linkage or channeling. And the second one is in doing the eKYC, for the customers, some peer-to-peer lending is engaging with the third-party eKYC providers. But when you have a license, you have a privilege to request the connection through the government body that managing the national identity. So it can create another value for your company and your services. And not only that, many financial institutions, although acknowledge sandbox in peer-to-peer lending, but when they see the peer-to-peer lending is not permanent license, they're reluctant to do the long-term collaborations. And how about the foreigner? Can the foreigner have the peer-to-peer lending license in Indonesia? Yes, but until maximum 85% shares, the majority. So cannot be more than 85%. That's the answer from me. Maybe Pakus just now already on the camera, wanna add some more? Thank you.
I think already enough, yeah, very clear from Pak Lutfi. Some of Korean financial institution also already in the industry, like OK Bank and also Kookmin, yeah, Kookmin Bank from Korea already be the investor at one to fintech company peer-to-peer lending. I think we know the two steps of licensing, yeah, registered. After 1 year registered, you should apply a license for a permanent license, as Lutfi mentioned just now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that, sorry, in the credit scoring, anyway, that financial inclusion is very important for, not only, for Indonesia, but for, the Korea as well. In terms of that, the credit scoring is pretty important. And so for, the credit scoring, another, the thing is important is that, what, data are. So how to collect the data? There's any other, some, the law, the protecting, the individual, information or something like that in Indonesia?
Sure, Peter, do you want to take that question since you're the expert?
Hi. Yes. Thank you. Very good question, of course, and always interesting, right? Because this is always where people get how to use data, how to collect data. I think the Indonesia government is also working on the Indonesia PDP, the Indonesia privacy law. But meanwhile, we have been also working on to try to distinguish what we think is possible without touching too much of the privacy data. And that's why we made this white paper. It's about like 60, 70 pages, I think, which we have done this collaboratively between the 13 members of this innovative credit scoring, with the help of a consultant, with the help from learning from World Bank group, and as well with the help from also materials. We have compared ourselves to the UK, Korea, India, to learn what other countries are doing, and we see we try to write our own localized version of what is possible to be used. So I think it is not a law. Of course, it's from us to give the input to the regulators, right? I mean, in the end, the regulators will have to come with the formal regulation. But I think this is an input which we distinguish which one is the whitelist data. I would say the data that should be useful for the benefit of credit scoring, but not touching the data, the privacy. So there are things that can be anonymized or can be without revealing too much of the privacy data, but it can help. So to help the person to get the score. So in the end of the day, the interest of data collection, it needs to be consented. The data subject needs to give the consent, that's first of all. And the second thing, the purpose of using it is solely for the purpose of creating a credit score for the individual who has consent, and that will help to reach our financial inclusion for people who has no credit history or unbanked segment. So I think with that purpose, we try to be more progressive, and we hope that our methodology of collecting data, our analytics or and modeling can help to help the lenders mitigate the risk, as well as helping the individuals, the underbanked, being able to get a loan. Thank you. Hope it answers.
Well, thank you, Peter, for your comments. And
thank you.
Okay, we do have an inquiry from the Korean participant panelist, Mr. Kang-Jong-seok, 대표님. Inquiry to Indonesia. Do you have a pre-inquiry to Indonesian companies?
During the presentation from the Indonesian side, I have solved a lot of questions. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Then, do you have an inquiry from Indonesia side, Korean analyst or general inquiry? Yeah. Okay, Mr. Dong-Wook Park, are you in line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, okay. In Korea, Korean companies are very interested in going abroad, specifically in Indonesia and Southeast Asian markets. Would you like to have an inquiry to Indonesian panelists?
Yeah, sure. We are very much interested in working with or investing in Indonesian companies. Unfortunately, we do not have an Indonesian portfolio yet, but we are in discussion with one of Indonesian local VCs in launching a VC fund dedicated to fintechs. So as I mentioned during my presentation, please send me an IR or IM materials if you are interested in exploring collaboration opportunities with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Dong-Wook. If you could also share your contact with in the chat or after this call, would be great as well, and we can circulate that to some of our members who need that. Thank you so much.
Yes, that's me. Sure.
All right, thank you for your comments. Do you have any more further inquiry from Indonesia or Korea?
I think Mr. Kus has a question around the next step to strengthen cooperation between Korea and Indonesia.
Okay, Mr. Kus, please go on.
Yes, thank you, Sung Kyun. I think I raised the question. Yeah, I think that this is a very precious moment for us between FinTech Korea and Indonesia. I think the next step is how we strengthen the cooperation between FinTech Korea and Indonesia. We have AFTEC, we have Bu Mercy, Pak Iwan, and also from AFI side, I myself, can be the contact center, to explore further cooperation between many stakeholders at Korea and Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for your comments and future cooperation with the Indonesian AFDI and AFTEC, with the Korea Fintech Center and our panelists.
Thank you, Chairman Chris. Thank you very much. And then, I think the participators in this webinar, I think they even though the time is already been over for the time, but many people remain in this webinar, which means that they are very interested in the area, have a kind of a good feeling on our the webinar. So I think we can have another webinar between Indonesia and Korea side, and also we can make kind of the MOU on screen and screen. Of course, we have the APAC, but the AP, between AP and the Korean Fintech Center Korea as well. And also, I think in next time, I think we can more together many diversified needs from both country, both fintech side, and then more we can concentrate on the speak sector, and if it is possible, we can relate to the investors, more investors. I think it is pretty good to each other, and also too many questions, that PPT, P2P, default rate. I think I'm a little bit curious about, the on slide, there is the default rate pretty, it seems to me, pretty okay. The law, so it is okay, because in the Korean market, we have a kind of the stress, big stress on the market, because due to the COVID-19. So it is okay. What is there any the support from government side to particularly the financial increase is pretty important by use of the P2P in Indonesia. So can you shortly comment on that?
Pardon, I can the last sentence.
Okay.
The signal not good at me. Sorry. Yes, I think let's make it. I think. We can arrange next meeting, next collaboration. To be more sectoral, we can do it. We can arrange it for the next event for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, online viewers and ladies and gentlemen from Indonesia and Korea, for joining us for a long time. This was a very meaningful seminar for Indonesian and Korean companies and partnership in the near future. So let's stay healthy. Let's just stay strong in this COVID, and until we meet next time. So let's keep in touch. So this is the end of our first Indonesia-Korea online fintech seminar. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, and thank you all speakers. Thank you.